if we start at the top on the agenda, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So Eric has tried to use Imba 2. I've tried to use Imba 2. Simon has tried to use Imba 2. And we have seen some issues. So the conclusion was, I didn't want to say it like be negative, because I was under the impression that there was still development ongoing, but it was unusable basically. You can't use it. Imba 2 can't be used with the current state.
Yeah.
Because like there is basic things don't work, and there's also, I created a couple of issues, and there's also looping, where if you have one level of loops, the first part is visible and then it just keeps on overwriting itself. So if you're looping over a couple of items, and then let's say you create the H1 element or something like that, then only the first element would be rendered. And
inside of a loop.
Yes, just one level.
But did you post an issue for this?
No, this one I didn't post an issue for, because I was trying to make an isolated reproducer, like the smallest possible reproducer. But when I was doing that, I kept seeing other bugs. So I registered issues for those, but I still have the case which me and Simon experienced when we were sitting together. So maybe I should just show you that example or send you that instead of trying to make it smaller, because as soon as we try to make it smaller, we just start seeing new bugs. Does it make sense?
Sure. To be honest, like as I talked to you about, there are lots of things missing, especially including nested loops inside of tags, and all the life cycle stuff like setup and things like that is not working for regular tags. It's only setup is not working at all. Mount, unmount is not working for custom elements. There are obviously like tons of things missing. That's what I tried to warn you about when you said that you wanted to like create a screencast actually using Imba 2, because it's obviously like there are so many of these features missing that you will, if you expect it to just like write existing Imba and have it work, then you will meet issues.
Yeah, but that was basically in the beginning of the week, right? So I was hoping there would be development until the end of the week, and then we would have reached probably, because I started looking at
the week. Do you mean the week when I said that I was on holiday, or
wasn't that the following week after? There was like a week window where like we had the last meeting, and then there was 1 week. So we waited, like, I think we waited 1 week before we tried using Imba 2, if I remember correctly.
I thought I talked to you like 2 days before you were going to use it with it, but
no.
But yeah, I'm not sure what we really just discussing. Like, obviously there are still bugs.
Yeah, like
it's not, like, definitely not recommended to use it just yet. I'm writing tests and I'm working on the core functionality. So
yeah, I was like hoping that we would have been like in a where you could actually use it for something, because right now, like, it's very buggy, and you did tell me about it, but I was trying to try it out as soon as possible, because I was just under the impression that those bugs would be resolved, like the nested looping. So I did try avoiding some of the things, but I'm not sure what the timeline is on this. Like when can we actually start using Imba 2 for things? Because like when you get it working, it's really fun. And I like the web components part and all of the new stuff. But it's like we don't have a clear timeline on when it's going to work.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, pretty difficult now in this stage because there are many things remaining, and it's not easy to like set a specific timeline on all these individual features, I guess. It will help, Eric reported some bugs on GitHub, and most of them I actually found and solved, I think. And from the other ones, like, I would be interested in knowing like which specific bugs you did run into, because that's obviously needed for us to fix them as well.
Yeah, so you could just go on GitHub, and then I tried to write V2 on all of those issues. So they should be, there's just,
Oh, there are, oh my God, it's
I,
just
I
Git
have,
speak obviously doesn't work now with this.
oh, you haven't seen them. Okay, I see.
Okay.
But I have two issues which, like one was the loop and then the other I don't remember. But I tried to create reproducers and isolate them. So, but Simon,
Yeah.
you were interested in the compile output. Did you find other bugs? Did you try out more things later, or I'm just curious if you did anything else?
No, I didn't research. I spent like just half an hour reading a little bit through the output from the loop where you're creating the, I think they were called the T1 and T2 and T3 nodes, which is kind of the actual code which create like the thing that we have written, the thing that compiled from that. But I couldn't understand why it was overwriting the node. But I think I just didn't want to spend the time renaming the variables to like. It's kind of confusing when everything is just named one character and a number.
Yeah. No, I just thought maybe you experimented more and found other issues, because as soon as I tried to, I was mentioning that earlier, as soon as I tried to make the node issue we were experiencing smaller, I just couldn't do it. Like I would experience compile errors or runtime errors. So I think I need to just create or reuse our example instead of trying to isolate it and make it smaller. Just upload our complete example, because there you can actually see it. I think that's easier.
But our example is quite small. There's like, we have.
I wanted to make it even smaller, but yeah, it's not that big. It is small. But I wanted something like in 4 lines or 5 lines or something like that. But yeah, it's not big. So I should just open up a new issue and then summarize it and upload the files, or inline them.
Yeah. I guess probably a lot of the issues you experienced had to do with the fact that you probably did dynamic. Like I look at the just 2 seconds. Look at the issue 251, and I think if you like created a lot of templates inside like imba.mount and then a plain element and then a lot of dynamic stuff, then most of that is broken right now because it doesn't convert things correctly to an expression when it needs to force the DOM tree to be compiled as an expression instead of a statement. So if you instead actually always created a custom element and then do all that fancy rendering inside of the render method, like you can see in the examples, like in test/apps/rendering, then I think you will not run into all these types of problems. And then we obviously also need to fix the things you reported.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure like how. Yeah. It's essentially like things do take time, and I've been working essentially full time on Imba 2 for except the last week for a long time now. So I can't give any more concrete timeline than just try to make everything work, fix bugs, and get it to a state that's shippable. It's very difficult to give a specific timeline, especially for when it's testable for someone outside of the development. I was hoping like it works for me, but that's again because if you look in the test/apps examples, there are quite a few examples testing things. But obviously that's because I haven't touched onto the parts that I know still doesn't work. So.
Yeah, I see that makes sense. But I would prefer to try out Imba 2 when you can actually write it the way you want it to. Like limiting it, I think maybe then it makes sense to wait even more. So
I'm not sure I understand completely what you mean.
So what I mean is like if Imba 2 just works in a certain way right now, maybe it's better to just wait until most of Imba 2 features are implemented, like so that you can actually write Imba 1 code in Imba 2, or at least the parts that are supposed to work.
Yeah.
So I would love to give more feedback, but I think at least for and you were also hesitant or with sitting down and just trying to write code for a screencast. So
yeah, that's exactly because of that, because I know that there are so many things still missing that take time to get in.
Yeah, so that was premature. But I think the calendar thing we looked at, that I think that's a good thing or a good project to use later when Imba 2 is more stable. But
what's the calendar thing?
That was I think I sent it on GitHub. It's Elm period calendar picker, which Simon was working on. So maybe Simon can summarize it.
Yeah, so it's a small, like I want to write some Elm code just for fun, and it's like a web component for instead of like when you do the accounting, so you can select like, hey, select term like the period 6, like so it will be like November and December, and you click that like one button to select one period instead of having to set like, okay, this is the first date and this is the last date. And then like I have written an example of it in Elm, and then we sat down and tried to just re-implement it in Scrimba.
Imba.
In Imba.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty clearly won't work now, I guess. Maybe I could do it, but I probably not. Like even if I know all the challenges, there are still missing things with lifecycle methods and stuff that would probably make that kind of hard. But it would be very interesting to actually see the Elm implementation, and also maybe like see where you started experiencing the problems. It sounded like you experienced immediately, so.
We have a recording of everything. So if Simon doesn't mind, I can send you the raw recording, because we recorded from start to finish, and we also had to stop due to time. So you can actually see all of the issues we were hitting with the setup and so on.
Yeah.
So if you want, I can send you that recording. I don't think Simon minds.
No, it's cool. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
So another problem that you probably experienced immediately that made it feel like everything is broken is what I see from issue 252, is that you cannot, with web components in Imba 2 right now, you cannot inherit from native items. Like you can't create a tag that inherits from li, and you can also not, all tags that you create, custom elements, must contain a dash, and they're not uppercase. So you need like tag app dash root or something like that. I am thinking about ways of working around that even for web components, but that's a limitation right now. And since we don't warn anyone about it in the compiled output or when you do things, then that's obviously a huge, like, nothing will work at all unless you do that. So
sorry, it went a little bit too fast for me, Sindre. So with the inherit part, could you repeat that? I didn't get that quite.
So currently in Imba 2, two of the things that are missing that will break anything that you try to do if you just go from Imba 1 is that custom tags cannot inherit from native tags. Like, you can't do tag to do inherit from li. And the custom tags must have a name that is lowercase and include a dash. This is a web component requirement. So I looked into ways of still supporting custom tags the same way we did in Imba 1, but that's not implemented yet. And since we're not even warning anyone about it, you will just experience weird shit if you don't follow that. So yeah.
I could show you the calendar thing, what it does. Like when you watch the video, I don't think we explain it that much.
Do you want to show it now?
Yeah, I could.
Can you take over the screen if I stop sharing?
I think so.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing and then.
So we have.
I don't see your screen. Where is your screen?
I haven't started it yet. But
sorry.
is it the choose a virtual background? No. Or should
share?
I don't start the video, but
you can choose a window. If you hit the share button, you should see windows.
And where's the share button?
Just try to find the Zoom.
I have a Zoom window. Oh, there.
Okay. There. Nice.
So all it does is that you have these buttons, and when you click each of these, so you can see this is the first date and this is the last date. So it's just that's all it does.
How do you change the first state versus the last state?
So these represent, like, this is 2018. This is the first quarter of 2018.
Yeah.
This is the second one and third. And this is like the terms when you do like MVA or VAT reports.
But how do you switch? How do you, if you click 2018, does that, where do you choose whether that means from the starting point or the end point?
This one emits two events, like, hey, this is the first date and this is the last date.
Yeah, but could you in this picker select from 2018 something to quarter to 2019?
No.
Okay.
So it doesn't do much and it's not complete. It's just like, this is work in progress. We could maybe write it in Imba instead of L. So
yeah. So it would be cool if you could send me the actual Elm example so I can.
Yeah, it's in the meeting notes.
It's a good exercise too. So obviously the ultimate test for Imba 2 would be to start porting something like GitSpeak over to Imba 2 and just make sure everything we do there works, not necessarily exactly the same way, but that it's possible to do the same things with Imba 2. But that's a huge job as well. So
yeah, I think that's going to be fun. At least getting single file components into the GitSpeak code base. That's going to be very fun, I think.
But I do think that it might be too optimistic to say that we'll release Imba 2 within this year, but at least I have to try to get a working like alpha of Imba 2 out, like that people can actually play with and test out and create semi-big examples from. But like today, I've been struggling with import and export rewrites all freaking day, and it's just the compiler is broken, and yeah. So some things take a lot longer than you would think beforehand.
So is there anything Simon or I could do to help out? Like this example Simon is showing is, I think it's a good example. Might help to try something different than what you would normally do. But is there anything else we could do to help out with getting Imba 2 more stable?
Again, it's probably just testing, but since it's kind of premature to test unless you know about some of the quirks, then I guess probably not for some more time. I kind of tried to say that when you talked about creating a screencast, but yeah, I'm not sure if I communicated that clearly enough.
Yeah, I think I was trying to push ahead, and I was just hoping things would be fixed by then. But like, is there anything specific in the testing? Like, if we so sitting down and making a screencast is not that productive. But what kind of testing are you thinking? Like, because I don't think it's like a good time of use to just restrict our writing to what's in the test suite. So, is there any other testing we could do? Like, what kind of testing?
So obviously it would be to if you experience some problem, if you just play around with it, then actually add the test file for it and say that, hey, this should work, and then create a pull request for that test.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, like creating the tests or new tests, because it looks like you've spent some time on the structure of the test suite.
Yeah, that's also in development, obviously, but yeah, it should be possible to.
So do we open a pull request against the 2.0 branch on Origin?
Yeah, and all you should is to add a single like actual Imba file in somewhere inside of test/apps. Right now you could do it on the root inside of test/apps, and later we can organize things into logical folders. So I've started doing that, but it's not always clear where something should belong. So at least if we do that and then we merge it into the V2 branch, then it's easier for me to both comment and change the files if there's something like this isn't even supposed to work with Imba 2. But your example with 251 is an obvious thing that could be just a small test file, which I added like locally now. And then at least you don't even need to add actual tests for it if the file doesn't even compile, which is the case here. So if you add that, then the test suite will at least show that there was an error when trying to load that specific file.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so it's okay to open up pull requests on, here's a test, we don't know how to fix this, and this is just failing. So you can actually get the reproducer.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Definitely. Yeah.
So if we, I don't think there's anything more else like you gave us a really good overview of Imba 2, like what's happening there. So
should we switch back to your screen for the document? Yeah. Or
could you stop sharing, Simon?
Yeah.
And let's go to Sam. Yeah, thanks for showing the calendar. It's so much easier to see what we're talking about. Are you still sharing?
Oh, there we go. Stop sharing.
Thanks.
Now I stopped.
I may try to share. Okay, so the next topic I wanted to follow up on, which is a nice transition. So do we have a document on how to write tests for Imba 2? Like, have you gotten to that or?
No, I haven't gotten to that.
Is that something I could do if you're busy with other things?
Yeah, sure. I think it should be relatively self-explanatory just by looking at the actual tests that are already there. So, but writing that up somewhere, that would be nice.
We could just add a README to the test directory. Like it doesn't have to be anything special, just summary. And then like, I think for me at least, it would be nice to just have like, how do you run this? How do you run that? And if you want to add a test, where should you put it? And so on. Just the basics.
Yeah.
Let me write that down. So Eric is not here, but one thing we talked about is it okay we transition to the next topic? I don't think there's anything else to add here.
Sure.
So we added docs.imba.io, and I think what's nice with this is that it goes in the direction you wanted it to go, and that is we're going to spend our time on the content. So instead of focusing on the presentation and layout and polish and stuff like that, let's just get the documentation to be good. And Gitbook lets us do that. So I'm just going to go to the page here. We still have to clean it up probably, and we have to change it so it's focused on the reader instead of the writer, which we have things like this.
Yeah.
So I think this is, it looks good. It's not great, but it looks good. And you can search here, for loop, and you'll find stuff, and then you just click. So I think this is gonna help new people.
Yes, I agree.
But of course, there are some things we should try to improve. Like we don't have like coordination yet, because I don't know what Eric is doing.
Yeah.
And I have some thoughts, and I don't want to step on his feet. So one thing I would be interested in is trying to see if we can merge back some of the previous documentation. And also one thing I want to do is I want to keep imba.io like separate. So the front page, so we can still write this stuff in Imba. And then, so it doesn't have to be a menu item thing here. It could be something else. But basically, the landing page is written in Imba, and then you get to this stuff here somehow, if it's a button or link, and then you can learn more. But here we could, we could polish this part, because then we're polishing one page, right? So one specific thing, and we can. Sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No, it's fine.
So. And what else? Keep imba.io separate and still written in Imba. So then we could also rewrite this as soon as the Imba 2 is ready for use in apps. We can just start rewriting this page. And I think that's going to be very good dog fooding. So.
Yeah.
And of course, if we find a strategy for merging this content with this content somehow, then we're not going to lose all of the good stuff from here, or some of the good stuff, like the interactive examples. I don't know how we could get them working. Maybe there's something in Imba 2 that makes this possible. Maybe not.
What do you mean?
Like maybe we can get this working, like interactive examples in Gitbook by using the newer feature set in Imba 2. I haven't looked at.
Can you add the dynamic things in Gitbook that way?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
We could add that as a follow-up.
Yeah.
So I can ask Eric if he can follow up on this. Cool. So do you guys have any questions about the documentation?
Not currently, I guess. I think that we should, when Imba 2 is ready to be released at some point, we should probably do a sprint sort of where we spend a weekend or a few days just really going through and writing more documentation on Imba 2. But that's obviously in the future. There are still challenges. There are still quite a few like things we need to decide when it comes to Imba 2. The more I think about it, we won't be able to release an actual like production ready Imba 2 for New Year's. That's probably just not possible because things like server-side rendering is not in now. There are tons of different things like that, but also there are the SVG isn't working. There are tons of important decisions to be made, like how do we actually if you write custom components and render them on the server, how will they awaken on the client? How will can you pass data from the server side rendering to the client? There are tons of questions there that needs to be discussed and worked on, but
what? I didn't hear the last part. Sorry.
Back from Australia. Can you still hear me?
You're falling out. Like I can hear parts of your sentence, so I'm not sure if you're speaking or not.
Okay, I see that I have a bad connection now.
But so basically, just to summarize, so Imba 2 won't be production ready in 2019. That's the gist of what you were saying.
Yeah.
Cool. So and I think it's good to set the expectations. So I look forward to using Imba 2 in 2020. It's going to be fun. Yeah. So do you have anything else? I wanted to go straight to the follow-up now for the next time.
No, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, let me double check the calendar because I've been making some mistakes recently with the calendar. So the next meeting is, let's see. And so just one moment, I'm trying to, so that's going to be on the 23rd December.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do it short if people are busy with holidays and things like that. But so let's see. I'll try to. Wait, can I fix documentation? Like, should we put that on hold, or like, what do you think? Should we just wait until Imba 2 is getting closer, like in 2020, instead of doing anything at all, or what should we do on the documentation?
So it's difficult to say.
Should we try to merge the imba.io with, for example, docs.imba.io, or is that a waste of time? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think it's probably sort of a waste of time in the sense that we do want the documentation, like when we document Imba 2, then yeah, we can pull things from here and there, but we do need to go over it and make it like consistent from start to end. And there are quite a few things that will be different from Imba 1 and quite a few things that we don't even need to mention in the new documentation, other things that we will, like there will be a lot of changes in the documentation, I think. So if, as you talk about like setting expectations, at least I don't want to say here now that yes, all the work on the documentation up until the launch of Imba 2.0 will be worth the time. Like I can't say that. I don't know, but Therefore, I would be careful like spending too much time on it. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that I get that, and I think it's better to maybe in this case to start fresh later, and then not let the current documentation set any restrictions. So
yeah, because at least the current documentation that I wrote on Imba.io was all that documentation, and the examples were probably written in like 2 days or something. You added a lot of important things for like how to get started using the command line tools, how you go about contributing and stuff like that. But the core documentation, just like the example from see the tutorial from Svelte, the long tutorial, I think that's sort of a good type of documentation that you can do in a very short amount of time, like in a few days, if we collaborate on that and start from fresh.
yeah, I see.
And I think that's something we should do, as we should create a good course on Imba 2 next year. And that's a good preparation for doing a course, like creating the Svelte-like tutorial step by step that goes through everything related to tags and rendering and things like that.
Yeah, but then I think we should definitely pick out the contribution parts. Like everything that's the developer contribution related should be extracted, because the other part can be thrown away. But okay, cool. Then let's add that documentation pull contribution bits into docs.io from imba.io. Yeah. So Simon, I know you have to leave soon, but do you have any plans on Monday morning, 7 o'clock?
Like the following week?
Yeah, the upcoming week. If you don't have anything planned at 7 a.m., maybe we could sit down again, like last time. And this time we could, instead of trying to rewrite something in Imba 2, we could focus on experimenting with Imba 2 and then seeing if we can find bugs, specific areas, and then writing test cases for that. Is that something you have time for?
Yeah, we can do that on the 16th.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything else we should write down for the follow-up topics, Sindre?
I don't think so.
Great.
I'll continue working on. I only have 3 days left before I travel back home, and since it's a 24-hour flight, then I think I'll probably be kind of messed up for a day or two. So I hope to at least fix imports and exports before that. Maybe try to fix the bugs that you did report, or at least respond to them in like how I would avoid running into these kinds of bugs in Imba 2. But yeah, there are still tons of things remaining, and now we also have some urgent issues in Git speaking Scrimba. So
yeah, so just to get that right, so you are traveling back home this week?
Yes, on Friday.
Cool. So you probably here back in the office on Tuesday then?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. See you soon. So
yeah, it was good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm getting very hungry. I haven't eaten breakfast for a while, so I want to wrap up. So
yeah, me too.
Great.
Good meeting.
Yeah, good meeting. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye bye.